Most fertilizers try to force growth from the outside in. Bright green leaves appear fast, but the soil underneath slowly weakens. JADAM fertilizer flips that logic completely. Instead of feeding plants directly, it feeds the soil biology so powerfully that plants respond on their own. JADAM fertilizer flips that logic completely. Instead of feeding plants directly, it feeds the soil biology so powerfully that plants respond on their own. When I first brewed a simple fermented weed fertilizer the JADAM way, I wasn't expecting much. Within 2 weeks, growth accelerated, leaf size increased, and flowering surged in a way that felt almost unfair. This wasn't bottled magic, it was soil life finally given what it needed. JADAM fertilizer is built on a simple idea. Everything your soil needs already exists around you. Weeds, leaf litter, native soil microbes, and time do the work. Unlike compost teas or commercial fertilizers, JADAM liquid fertilizer doesn't rely on expensive inputs or constant monitoring. JADAM fertilizer is built on a simple idea. Everything your soil needs already exists around you. Weeds, leaf litter, native soil microbes, and, just time do the work. Unlike compost teas or commercial fertilizers, JADAM liquid fertilizer doesn't rely on expensive inputs or constant monitoring. It encourages naturally occurring microorganisms to multiply and dominate the soil ecosystem, crowding out disease while unlocking nutrients already present. The core ingredient is weeds, and not just any weeds. The best ones are fast-growing soft-stemmed plants like nettle, lamb's quarters, chickweed, comfrey, pigweed, or grass clippings. These plants accumulate minerals aggressively while they grow. When fermented, those minerals are released in soluble form, ready for microbes and roots to absorb. Okay, so, to make a basic JADAM fermented weed brew, you want to start with a large container. A 20-liter bucket works really well for home gardens, but, larger drums are pretty common for more serious growers. Next, fill the container about halfway with chopped weeds. There's really no need to dry them. Fresh green material actually ferments better. To make a basic JADAM fermented weed brew, you start with a large container. A 20-liter bucket is great for home gardens, but honestly, larger drums are common for serious growers too. You fill the container about halfway with chopped weeds, and again, there's no need to dry them. Fresh green material just ferments better. Now, add non-chlorinated water until the weeds are fully submerged, but make sure to leave some headspace for gas buildup. Here's the part that really sets JADAM apart. Instead of using molasses or sugar, you actually add a small amount of native soil. About a handful per 20 liters is enough. This introduces locally adapted microorganisms that already know how to thrive in your climate and soil conditions. Stir the mixture well, then loosely cover it. It must breathe, but insects should be kept out. Within a few days fermentation begins. You'll notice bubbles rising and a strong earthy smell developing. This is normal. JADAM fermentation is not sweet or pleasant like lactic brews. It smells intense, sometimes foul, but alive. That smell signals active microbial breakdown, not rot. Within a few days fermentation begins. You'll notice bubbles rising and a strong earthy smell developing. This is normal. JADAM fermentation is not sweet or pleasant like lactic brews. It smells intense, sometimes foul, but alive. That smell signals active microbial breakdown, not rot. So, you'll want to stir the mixture once a day to keep fermentation even. After about 7 to 10 days in warm weather, the brew is ready, but, cooler conditions may take up to 2 weeks. You'll notice the weeds will collapse into dark sludge, and the liquid will turn brown, or even black. Next, strain out the solids and save them for compost or soil burial. What you're left with is a concentrated microbial fertilizer. Just remember, this liquid must be diluted before use. A standard dilution is 1 part JADAM fertilizer to 20 parts water for soil drenching. For sensitive plants or young seedlings, you'll want to use 1 part to 30. And, always apply directly to the soil, not the leaves. So, a standard dilution is 1 part JADAM fertilizer to 20 parts water for soil drenching. For sensitive plants or young seedlings, you'll want to use 1 part to 30. And remember, apply directly to the soil, not the leaves. This fertilizer actually works underground where microbes interact with roots and minerals. The results come fast because JADAM doesn't just supply nutrients, it activates nutrient cycling. Microbes release enzymes that free locked phosphorus, nitrogen, and trace elements already present in the soil. One of the most noticeable effects is root development. Plants fed with JADAM fertilizer build thicker, more fibrous root systems. That translates into better water uptake, stronger stems, and increased resistance to stress. And, flowering plants often set more buds, because nutrient flow is steady rather than spiking and crashing. Another benefit is disease suppression. Healthy microbial populations outcompete pathogens in the soil. Gardeners using JADAM regularly often see reduced fungal issues, stronger immune responses in plants, and fewer pest problems overall. This isn't because the fertilizer kills pests directly, but because balanced soil produces resilient plants. Timing matters. Apply JADAM fertilizer early in the growing season to jumpstart biology, then again during heavy growth or flowering phases. Avoid applying right before heavy rain, which can dilute its effect. In hot weather, water the soil lightly first, then apply the diluted brew, so microbes move downward rather than drying on the surface. This method shines because it costs almost nothing. Weeds are free. Native microbes are everywhere. There's no dependence on store-bought inputs or constant amendments. Over time, soil improves to the point where less fertilizer is needed at all. Once you see how plants respond, it's hard to go back. Growth becomes steady instead of forced. Soil smells richer. Plants handle stress better. JADAM fertilizer isn't about feeding plants harder. It's about letting biology do what it's always done best. When we finally stop getting in the way.